All right, starting with a very tragic story of a father who had to face levels of corruption and a tragedy. A city like Bengaluru, one would assume that officers would go as per the rule, as per law, but out of turn. Police officers allegedly took bribe to give FIR, to give post-mortem reports, the cremation ground officials taking bribe. It's just sad and the father had to actually get on a public platform on LinkedIn to actually pour his grievance after losing his only daughter. The father you see there, K. Sivakumar, who's the father of Akshay Sivakumar. This really exposes, this story here exposes the levels of corruption that prevail in this country. This story is a painful testimony to it. In Bengaluru, a father who was mourning the loss of his only daughter found himself paying bribes at every step of his her final journey. K. Sivakumar, a retired Bharat Petroleum Chief Financial Officer, CFO, shared his ordeal on LinkedIn, a post where he expressed whatever happened in the final moments after his daughter died and the funeral that he wanted to carry out, the way he was pushed to pay bribe at every level. His post has really left thousands shaken. He's written how civic workers, ambulance drivers, police officials all demanded cash before performing their duties. Ambulance driver, he says, asked for 3,000 rupees. The crematorium staff asked for money. And in fact, the crematorium are all run by the BBMP, the civic body, and they refuse to proceed with the cremation without payment. That's what he says. Even the police station, he says that he was asked by the police as well to pay up for copies of FIR and post-mortem report. The grieving father says that he ran from counter to counter trying to do the right thing only to be met with the same demand, money. He says in the post, when you've just lost your child and are barely able to stand, these are the people you depend on. He writes his words echoing with grief and helplessness. Following this, in fact, the BBMP has now taken action, has ordered an inquiry and promising strict action against those found guilty, at least at the crematorium ground. Also, two cops have been suspended. The police have also taken action. 2 cops have been suspended, we hear. Civic activists, on the other hand, say that this is not an isolated case. This has been happening quite often, calling such cases as unfortunate. In fact, civic activists say that processing fees is often taken from aggrieved families, which is an open secret. They say this is an open secret. Bengaluru's cremation ground takes processing fees, which is not there, but it's asked for. They're now demanding digital payments, CCTV surveillance, and clearly and also rate cards and rate boards displayed so that families are not exploited. In fact, as part of measures now to ensure that this does not happen again, the civic body says that they're going to ensure CCTV cameras are in place. They will ensure digital payments only so that the money is all tracked, and also they will display boards that will show clearly what the amount is, how much should be paid, nothing extra will be taken from the families who are aggrieved, so that at least when the families are at their weakest moment, they aren't preyed on. Now, if this can happen to someone so educated, financially secure, influential enough to speak out, imagine what happens with the poor, the powerless, who we hear go through this every now and then. We hear countless of stories coming from the marginalized, but never really have we taken them so seriously, right? Until a person of this stature spoke up. That's when it acted like a wake-up call, not just for us, but for the civic body and the system itself. To bring our guests on board, we have Sanjay Sahay, former ADGP Karnataka, joining us. Brinda Adige, social activist and Director Global Concerns India. Vivek Menon, former advisor to the Chief Minister of Karnataka. Thanks very much, all of you. I'll start with the former police here, Sanjay Sahay. Sir, 2 police officers have been suspended. Why does it always have to be post-mortem action instead of a preventive measure? Bengaluru taking bribe for ambulance, taking bribe for cremation ground, and then FIR post-mortem report also you got to pay money for. Is that true, sir?
I'm just bewildered about the fact as to how country is waking up to this post. As if the journalists, the vigilance guys, the government
they know about it.
Is unaware of this fact. The point is we are running commentaries on things which does not matter. things which are hitting us right, left, right, and center from morning till evening. If a CFO of a Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited is forced to pay there, literally anybody and everybody is doing it. There are people who do not come up, and the corrupt are not bothered. And what happened to the police and what happened to the BBMP officials? This is a part of a standard toolkit where you are made to believe that there are few black ships. But at the end of the day, you go anywhere. Now you put two and two together. So cremation ground, ambulance, police, FIR copy. If you add up together, this fellow wouldn't have gone and told independently that the ambulance fellow has taken money. So whether you will take money or not. He goes to each of these offices and everywhere he is welcomed with the same sort of approach. And you bring that with vigilance, bring that with Lokalayukta, bring the whole paraphernalia I've been repeating over and over again, besides the mainstream governance, the anti-corruption agencies inside the departments, outside the department, whether they are clean or not, that is a huge question mark.
You know, if your top bosses are corrupt, it percolates down. If my boss is taking money, why won't I?
The issue is, let me tell you very clearly, that top political class, what they are doing, not they are doing, so all of us know. But the point is, the bureaucracy is a permanent organization.
Correct.
They have the nature of immunity which they have. Correct. And they have decided to become part and parcel of the political class, that ethos, that culture, and that whatever you can call it, ecosystem, while coming out in the open and claiming that we are different. It is literally strange bedfellows, but they are bedfellows nonetheless.
So we've normalized corruption, sir, that means.
It is not normalized, it is internalized. It is not normalized, it is internalized. Even the fellow who comes with a gas cylinder to my house, he says, sir, wo khali wo de dijiye thoda bakshish. Now there are bakshish systems also. The BBMP garbage collector. I'm living like a common man for last 5 years.
You know, I'm just saying, absolutely no relation here to this story. But in the United States, there is a system of paying a tip, and it's formalized, right? You pay a 10% of what service you're taking, and there you're absolutely frowned upon if you don't. It's almost as if it's a system there. This much 10% you've got to pay. So but there is no formal system here in India. So therefore, you extract whatever you want. And if you don't get paid, then you won't do work for them.
No, what I'll tell you, it is not a question of whether somewhere there is a tip or somewhere there is no tip. We were made to believe very initial days in our service that our salaries were less. That is why there are lots of people who indulge in corruption. Sir? No, they indulge. No. Then you have the 5th pay commission, you have the 6th pay commission, you have the 7th pay commission, now the 8th pay commission. There are couples inside the bureaucracy who would be carrying 3.5 lakh rupees as pension today. So let's not get into that they are drawing less salary. I think my personal assistant in one of my DG assignments was drawing 73,000 or 93,000 rupees. He was a gazetted officer in his own right. So this whole bunkum which has been created, that they are making money just because they are short of money, it does not hold ground at all.
So greed has no limit, then you are greedy.
It is not greed, it is beyond, it is criminality. They want to reach levels which is unimaginable. See, all this porthole business is what? The whole government in Karnataka cannot make a road correct. The road technology is the oldest of the technologies, most robust of the technologies. It is extremely difficult to make a road which breaks. Whereas what we are having here is roads, even the white top roads. So they break. You give it to Larsen and Toubro, give one single contract. They will do it, finish. There ends the story. Bangalore roads are sorted out forever. But then the booty cannot be
then you lose out on making that extra buck. Yeah, true.
Yeah, then the booty cannot be distributed.
Correct.
And you are talking about the digital thing. Digital drama also, I'll tell you. See, these procurements are happening digitally for ages now. I think we started some 20 years back. So which means all the procurements are hunky-dory because it is digital. This whole game which is played on the masses, that digital means integrity, digital means honesty. I think this game will run for another couple of years or might be a decade or so. And it's the other way around. When you give money, then that fellow will open your account. The way people are struggling with e-khata is nobody's business. Every single thing, bed management system, you name it, you have it. So this digital, then
So,
CCTV.
you know, from
Okay.
what I understand, you got to keep an extra
CCTV.
budget for everything
No,
you're
no,
doing.
CCTV.
Huh.
No, they will not do. The point is we have lost the expertise, we have lost the capability of creating projects, delivering projects and delivering services. You already have that project in the government of Karnataka where the timelines are given. Brinda will tell me, I'm forgetting the name of that. So there 7 days, 10 days, 20 days, everything is there.
Let me get to
But only
Brinda. Let me get to Brinda. Brinda, you know,
Brinda will elaborate further.
grieving father has to bribe every level of officials. Not like 3,000 is much for the man. He was a CFO of Bharat Petroleum, a reputed person, worked for years as a person of stature. So I'm assuming wealth was not an issue, money was not an issue, but it was just the fact that he had to be pushed to the edge at every level, from the ambulance guy to the police to the cremation ground. You know, to pay bribe just to carry out his daughter's final rites. What does it really speak of our civic ethics?
Let us not even go into this realms and nice word called ethics. It is a duty that the Sarkari Naukars are supposed to perform. I'm stressing on these words because they call themselves public servants. That is the appointment letter that they get and they sign. So they are supposedly my servant, which means I am the paymaster. Now, the colonial mindset has not yet gone. And we also have allowed it to continue. Now, Mr. Sahay spoke about this whole internalization that has happened, and it has happened and it continues to happen with impunity. The impunity, everything that Mr. Sahay spoke about, who do I complain to?
Yeah.
What is the action I'm expecting to happen? By when? Even now, somebody, the police commissioner, has suspended 2 police officers. Now, suspension is vacation with half salary. Why should you be suspended? Then after the departmental inquiry is done, what happens? Is it there in the public domain? I'm not talking only about the police, but about every other department. Nobody's pulled up. Now we talk about the Lokpal. The people in Lokpal, are they clean? Because you have to be absolutely above board to be able to go and get those who are taking the bribe and registering a case. How many cases are registered by Lokpal? And in which courts are these heard? And what is the logical conclusions that these cases are brought to? Nothing. Now, it is even more easier in all the government departments because we have something called contract service. So I'm not actually a government employee, but I'm employed by the government. Of course, this English is such a beautiful language that we can go on talking on these kind of things.
Yeah.
So I will take a bribe and I don't have any master above me. I don't have any senior officer above me. And if I go and complain, woe to me. My certificate is not going to come out in this lifetime. They will do everything under the sun. And I can tell you from my personal experience, from 2017, I'm running behind Bestcom for, wrongly charging me some 27,000 rupees.
Oh, God.
I've gone all the way up to the ombudsman. And every time a new engineer will come and he will say something, it is done, it is coming, it is going. And then you have to pay a bribe to them for going through with the order. The order has been passed by the ombudsman. So I'm saying that how many people are there? You said 3,000 rupees is not much. 30 rupees should not be demanded by anybody. Forget 3,000 rupees.
Not a single
How
penny.
dare you demand a bribe?
And that
How
too,
shameless of
they're
you.
preying on the distress and the grief of a father.
That's exactly.
And
It's
right, that
emotional
moment,
blackmail.
the families won't deny it. Whatever the money, you give it and get done with it.
Emotional blackmail.
Yeah,
because
it
at
is
that time-
emotional blackmail. The shocking part is that we've heard
Criminal emotional blackmail.
many stories from the poor. We often carry stories on our social platforms. platforms. Sadly, that does not even get enough coverage on the main television because, you know, it's very important real estate. TV is very important for us, so we select and, you know, condense stories and you know, pick only a handful to relay. This man made it here because of his stature. I'm being brutally honest.
Absolutely,
but the poor who are there,
you're
you know, the
right.
number of stories that are on social media, I see the person died. You won't believe it. An ambulance driver stopped to watch a leopard. A leopard crossed by. He stopped to watch a leopard and a 20-year-old boy with malaria. He had to be rushed to the hospital. He died because the ambulance driver stopped in the middle of the way to watch a leopard and then said, if you want me to go further, give me money, I'll go. So
Yes.
even though the family paid, the boy died by the time he reached the hospital. It just made it until social media. But I'm saying...
There is no accountability
Yeah.
by anybody at any stage.
No, but then where's the fix? You know, Vivek, you want to come in on
There
this?
is not a fake. There is not a fake.
Let's bring in Vivek also. Vivek, who benefits from such
Vivek.
leakages? Please tell me who benefits from keeping such leakages alive?
You know, I think corruption has basically woven itself into the fabric of this nation. You know, it's very unfortunate. We had people like Santosh Hegde who were, who was out there as the Lokalayukta. Today, the Lokayukta's position is completely non-existent. And I think that's where the problem starts. It starts at the top. When you start condoning corruption at the top, it starts seeping down to the fabric of the nation. And I think, everyone, within the BBMP, within every agency, literally today, believes that corruption is commonplace and that I'm just another person, in the whole system. I can extort from the system. I can extort from the system. It's not just about the politicians itself. It's in the collective conscience of the country itself today that corruption is condoned. It's commonplace. It can happen. And I think, that's where, your integrity, your values, all of that stuff has just been thrown out. And corruption is at the very highest of levels. Today, if you look at it, whether it's the central government, whether it's the state government, whether it's local government, corruption is, inherent to it. And so much so that even the position of the Lokayukta, someone who was put in place over there to check corruption today, is almost non-existent. I mean, I remember Mr. Santosh Hegde actually, giving a speech to a whole bunch of students and saying that, we have to obviously reflect on ourselves and say that, we will not take money. And in fact, he had the guts and the gumption to actually dismiss a chief minister, Mr. Yediyurappa, on corruption charges. Today, have you ever heard of that? Today, we look at the BBMP, we look at the infrastructure that's around us, and there is corruption at every level. It's eating away at the basic fabric of our nation. And irrespective of how big we become, we might become a $5 trillion, $10 trillion economy. It is going to drain our economy because it's eating away at it. We have to have a complete course correction. We've got to talk about ethics. We've got to talk about, and coming back to salaries of government servants, compensate them adequately. Give them, at the end of the day, there's, they don't have the morale today. A cop today can be bought out for 50 rupees to 100 rupees, right? That's where you need to reinstill the morale in the forces, in the police forces, and tell them that, this money is not just going to benefit you. And I think, that needs to come into the collective conscience of the nation itself, to where we all say we've got to build our nation together. Corruption has to go away. We've got to be ethical in everything that we do.
This is being said repeatedly. I don't know if there's a hard stop. There can be a hard stop. You have countries where their prime ministers are being sent out. They're being ousted for a corrupt activity. That's the precedence a few countries set, but we aren't seeing that here. It's so normalized to know that, and we talk about this in normal conversation, that a political party has spent this much money for elections, this candidate has spent that much money for elections, he did not win or she did not win because she did not spend enough money. It's normal conversation, is an accepted norm. And people fund politicians because they need money to throw at voters. It starts from there. It's the cycle that just... Yeah, Brinda.
Nabila, if you have to file a case or book somebody at a certain level, at a senior level, you need to get all kinds of permissions. You can't simply book and file an FIR. In our country, colonial Raj continues. You cannot let us assume that you want to file a case on a case of corruption on a IAS officer or a senior officer,
Yeah.
or for that matter, any government officer. You need to get various permissions. How can the police even register such a case? And by the time you can get all of that, you have calls from various ministers who are equally corrupt or more,
Yeah.
telling you that it is their man or their woman, so you can't touch them. We need a stringent legislation, and that legislation cannot have any kind of more than equal citizen. We are all equal, and if you are caught and if there is a complaint against you of corruption, then you have a ombudsman that must be absolutely above board, made up of even individuals from the civil society, so that nobody is twisting your arms and there's no any kind of nexus, and a proper investigation that can be done, for which we need a separate police team, investigation team. You can't have the same law and order and crime people coming and doing those investigations. Look at all the developed countries. And we call ourselves a developing country. And Mr. Vivek said, this trillion, that trillion, whatever we might be, our systems are still reeking of colonial high-handedness.
Correct.
And as long as we continue with this high-handedness, it is the citizens who will pay at every level, with our pain, with our grief, our anger, and outrage.
Okay, I'll
The
circle back
poorest
to
of the
Mr.
citizens,
Sahay.
the citizen who has nothing more to give. I know there are some people, sometimes when they have come and complained, a wife came and complained and said, I went to visit my husband and I didn't have anything to give. Apparently, the person at the gate said, you're wearing a nose pin, give it. It was a small dot of gold. And she said, I took it and gave it. So there are people around also who condone it. It's not just that one person asking for it. Now, are we shameless?
No,
Yes.
so what it comes down to, that I will work for those who pay me that extra buck. I will not for those who don't. So it's as simple as that. That's the behavior. If I'm getting paid.
It's not as simple.
No, it's not so
certainly
simple.
not as simple. It is a very well-oiled
Don't
machine.
be thinking there's a guarantee that if you pay, work gets done. No. It doesn't.
Mr. Sahay?
It doesn't get done. So
Nabila
let's not
is
send the
not-
wrong messages that if you pay money, your work will get done. No.
What
We
work?
shouldn't even talk about those kind of things.
See,
People have
Nabila,
started using that as a message. It's a messaging, a conditioned messaging. You pay money,
Is
your
it
work will get
backlog
done.
then? Is it just the number of cases that's coming in? Is it overworked? They're so overworked. So if
See,
you
it
want
is-
me to
it is-
prioritize you, then just give me a little
No.
extra.
It is
No.
a well-oiled machine. Well-oiled machine, thoroughly well-oiled, different parts known, the movements known, the input known, the output known, the processing known. That is how it is working.
You're saying a part of it might
Huh.
even go to the big boss, sir?
I'm not talking whether it is going, what it is not going. You come with me, you want to investigate as
Yes, it is going.
as a civilian. You come with me, you can see it for yourself, right?
So it does say
Whether-
yes or no? Yes.
Yes, I'm
There is
saying
no
yes.
question of yes or no.
Sir,
There is no question of yes or no. The point is, when I'm telling you that it is a well-oiled machine, I'm telling you, say 1.5 lakh or 2 lakh crores are spent on a general election. When I'm telling you that the affidavits, you can't put a AI tool and you just find contradictions on the affidavits filed to the election commission. Leave aside scrutiny of it. Why scrutiny of affidavits is not allowed? So there are n number of things we can go on endlessly.
No, because you ultimately also want to, the bureaucrats are paying for positions transfers, so you want to make that money back.
You are coming there yourself. See, at some point in time, I was telling that I will write a memoir saying without a posting.
I think, Nabila, if I can
So
just
how
come
many
in.
of them will say
And I'll
something
tell you
like
one
that?
more. I'll tell you one more thing. Bastar. I was election observer in Bastar. And governance visited Bastar only once in 5 years. Rest of the time, governance did not visit. What is the current situation is a different story. I was in Kanke. So I used to say governance is visiting only during elections. And the situation was such that there are 3 assembly segments. All the 3 assembly segments had their mustering in the district headquarters and not in the assembly segment headquarters.
Okay, final word as I'm coming to a close from Vivek. Go on.
I think one of the things that we really need, where it all starts off, is, campaign financing. I think it starts with the politicians, it goes down to the bureaucrats, and then finally, of course, it comes down to the administration. I think we really need some campaign finance reform where campaigns are not funded by, these kind of transfers that are made, obviously public funds that are actually usurped. There has to be an ombudsman, there has to be a system, justice delayed is justice denied. Unfortunately, we don't have a fast track system within our courts, but we have to change. The election commission has to come up with stricter norms and enforcement when it comes to campaign finance, because that is the root cause
Correct.
of all the corruption that is coming down. And if we can,
Absolutely
kind of
right.
control that, then obviously these transfers, that are happening where people pay, significant sums to actually get these positions, then they obviously are recovering it from others. That entire, web
Cycle,
basically.
yes.
I
Yes,
think that's
Brinda?
what we really need.
Yes. Taking off from there, I think it is time for our country to bring in the right to recall and amend the law if there is any, to ensure that senior officers must be booked. And we must not be asked to go through so much of red tapeism. Because when that can be done, I think the other things will fall into place. And the right to recall is the right of the citizens in mother of democracies. Why is the
Absolutely.
parliament so hesitant to look at getting this bill and write
You
the
have the
law
same
in
people
place?
because it comes from the same lot. The
So we
same
want the
people
law.
making the law.
So we want the law. Don't give us excuses. Another election is going to cost us and all of those things. I'm sure we are all intelligent and wise enough to find so many other ways in which we do not have to spend on another election, but get the next person there. There should be that fear that I may be thrown out, pulled up, and I can no longer hold that position of power.
Mr. Sahay, I'll end with you. You wanted to make that point.
Who will instill that fear? That is the biggest question.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
We
I
the
don't want to
citizens.
kill hope. I want to keep hope alive.
No, we are all
We the
hopeful.
citizens.
We are all hopeful.
Yeah.
Citizens.
That's it. Thank you very much. I really
Thank you.
appreciate all
Thank
of you
you.
joining
Bye.
us here today.
Bye.
Thank you.